So this is the story of the best party that I ever went to. Lucky for me, there are a few of these parties, and well, you never know. Maybe the best party I ever go to hasn't happened yet. So that's exciting. Um, so first off, especially if my kids are watching this, I never had parties in high school. I went to parties. I never had them at my house, my parents' house. So I think that was a smart move because parties in high school were usually a bad idea to be hosting that party. They could get out of hand, I guess, let's say. Okay, so one party that I remember is going to Chicago with my friend Matt, and my friend in Chicago, his name was Jeff. He was having a party at his house, and he lived in a very nice suburb of Chicago, had a very, very nice and big house. And I think he partied a lot. I think his parents went out of town enough, and they partied a lot there and kind of had it down. There was a routine to party there. I'm pretty sure that they got a keg of beer. We got a keg of beer, and I was staying at this house with my friend Matt. And it was all going great. And the cops did show up at some point. There was a plan for that where the keg was going to be hidden. And, this was the mid 90s, so it was a little looser. I think like having a party at a house was sort of okay. And at some point, some younger person, so we were probably seniors. I was 18. My friend Matt, that came with me, was 17. At some point in the night, when the cops showed up, they were gonna leave, but somebody that was younger, like a freshman, sophomore, junior at the party, saw the cops and like threw their beer and started running. And so when that happened, the cops were like, all right, this is a little out of control. We have to come in. And the whole point for me telling this story is that because my friend that I went to Chicago with from Cleveland was not 18, he was 17. Like if he got arrested or we got busted in Chicago, I think his mom would have had to come to Illinois to pick him up because he was under 18. I have no idea how it would have worked. So as soon as the cops were like now going through the house and it was an issue, we were like hiding in the basement. And I remember like hiding in like a Christmas tree box or something and just like laying there being super quiet because I did not want to get in trouble. And I sure as hell did not want my friend getting in trouble, getting arrested, and then his mom is coming to pick him up. Would have been bad. Okay, so that was like party number one. Where most of my great partying happened was at college, and I was in a fraternity, and so that just got like crazy, stupid, excessive. I don't remember anything, right? But it was like nuts. I do remember sort of like waking up the next day because I lived in the fraternity house. There were a lot of us in that fraternity house. I'm guessing like 40 or 50 people lived there. It was a big house. And when you'd wake up the day after a party, it was just like beers and cigarettes everywhere, and stinking and smelling. It was so gross. But I do remember a few things. One was when I was a sophomore living there, there was an older guy who was very, very funny. His name was Dan. He was like a fifth year, sixth year, like grad student that was just living in the house. He'd like done his time there. Now he's living in the house. And my people my age became the president and the treasurer of the fraternity. And so they're making all these rookie mistakes, but one we were having one party and we had this like courtyard, and so they wanted to hang like tapestries, right, like rugs basically, but cheap rugs. They just wanted like to cover the whole thing with tapestries. Maybe it was a 70s theme party. I don't even know. I didn't even know what a tapestry was at this point, but I remember we spent like $300-400 on tapestries, and this guy Dan coming in and being like, "What the hell? You guys spent $400 on tapestries?" Like basically yelling at us for like just the financial abuse of of spending all this money on tapestries for a party. So that was funny. We kind of came in, not my, but the regime of people my age came into the fraternity and they were like, I know how we'll like grow this fraternity. We will have a lot of parties, invite a lot of like freshmen, they will be cool, and then they will pledge, and I will have more people and more budget to have more parties. I mean, genius kind of growth ideas, but it worked. So, um, so that was at the fraternity one thing. My friends, like my two roommates at the fraternity, became the president and the treasurer of the fraternity, and that was like halfway through sophomore year. I lived in the fraternity house sophomore year. That was enough for me, and we had three people in a room, just crazy. We had a three-person bunk bed. um, so after that year, I moved out, and two girls that I knew from high school happened to have, maybe they found a place, maybe they lived there the year before, but I got in this situation where I was in a five-bedroom house, four bedrooms upstairs, one like sort of like master suite on the ground floor next to the kitchen. And the girls were like, "Hey, will you move into our house?" And because there's four girls living upstairs, I would get the master suite downstairs with my own bathroom. It's like insane. I hope I paid more rent than they did because I got such a better deal. It was so fun. But the point being, in terms of partying, is that our fraternity, believe it or not, got in trouble my sophomore year. And so we were sort of on like a probation where we couldn't have that many parties at the fraternity house. And so, what my friends, the president and the treasurer, would do, and because I lived with four girls, we would buy a keg at our house, and then the fraternity would buy like $1,000 worth of alcohol, like open bar, like vodka, whiskey, stuff like that, and then we would host a pretty sponsored party at my house, and we did it a lot. We did it probably five times. I lived there for 2 years, so maybe we did it four or five times over the course of a year. Again, I mean, I don't remember any specific incidents, but it was very, very, very fun. And the way it worked at my college, Miami University, is, the keg, we'd start Friday or Saturday night, maybe Thursday sometimes, who knows. You open the keg, start having drinks probably early-ish, 5, 6, 7, and then the liquor comes and we stock the bar, and then people start rolling in, and it's just like almost like a swarm. Like there's like people everywhere, and it's a good like hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of like a legit party, pouring drinks, beers flowing, and then you run out. It's like enough people where you run out of everything pretty quickly, and then you head to the bars. So such good times. I mean, things I'm not going to record, but sort of remember a little bit, but just craziness. And just like the party comes in, everybody parties, and then you leave and go to the bars and you come back, and sometimes there's an after party and things like that, but such good times. There was a lot of that. And then it even got crazier. Well, probably not crazier, but maybe a little. After that, I moved up the street and lived with like seven guys that I was friends with, and that was another house that we partied a lot in. Let's just, I guess, leave it at that. Very, 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 very fun. I'm missing those times as I'm like remembering just all the feelings, honestly, what that felt like. It was great. The other good thing, and kind of a side note here, I knew it was great when I was going through it. I mean, that's one of the things. If I'm like happy about just my demeanor, when there's good times and I'm having fun, I know it and I can kind of feel it and remember it, and I can notice it. I remember talking to the girls I lived with who were just more stressed about school or whatever, and just being like, "Oh my god, I'm so incredibly happy. This is awesome." It's like, how could it ever get better? This is insane. And just really appreciating it, I guess, is the word I'm looking for when it was going on. Okay, so that was college. There was a lot of good times. The other kind of chunk of time where I remember partying a lot is after moving to New York and sort of finding my footing in an apartment with 4 other people. Yeah, it was 5 total people, 1 bathroom. And we lived on the 5th floor of this apartment building where, the guy, our landlord, rented the 4th and 5th floor of this apartment, put in bedroom.